What is up, all of you beautiful nerds from around the world? I am Josh. This is the Den of Nerds, and happy Star Wars Sunday to all of you. If you were watching this on Sunday, if you're catching on the replay later on, no worries. Man, we got some crazy stuff that I wanted to talk about. First, before we get into all that, I do want to say I apologize to everyone about the lack of Star Wars Sunday content as of late. I kind of chose to, focus on Game of Thrones a little bit, not only from the perspective of watching Game of Thrones, which I enjoyed very much right up until the end of the movie, but trying to do some content. You know what I mean? So we decided we were gonna take a swing at some content for Game of Thrones. It wasn't always successful for us. The last video we did for it was actually ended up being very successful for us. But I think a lot of that had to do with just it ending and then the craziness of people checking that out. What's up, everybody in the chat? How you guys doing? But we're kind of back to normal as far as Star Wars Sunday is concerned. So we'll be expecting more Star Wars videos every Sunday for you guys. Now, this one today, this is a really cool one for me, man. This flew under my radar. Oh, yeah, Second Street Marvel, thank you so much, man. If you guys could drop a like on this stream, that would be incredible. Let me tell you a real quick story. Let me tell you a little something, man. This is kind of crazy. So Thursday, I did a thing on the show, the Nerdy News Rundown, where I was like, guys, I never do this. I'm so bad about asking for likes, but apparently likes are really important now on YouTube, like even more important than they were. Could you please drop a like? A pretty please. Hey, drop a like. And the most incredible thing happened. People dropped likes. So that video did 4,000 likes the last time I checked. We don't do 4,000 likes. Even some of our biggest videos don't have that. You know what I mean? And I realized, I was like, man, I don't ever ask about doing the likes, but it's obviously so important to the algorithm. That video on Thursday is like still doing really well, still being pushed out there to people, and still, making money for the channel and helping us out. So like, as stupid as it is, because I really do think it's stupid. You know what I mean? Like I do. I don't know. That's just me. Like I don't really like a lot of videos online myself. I don't really do it. So I was like, man, this is really stupid, but I gotta get better at it. Because at the end of the day, here's the thing, and here's what I realized. There's a lot of people that support the channel. They like what we are doing here. And man, wait till you guys see what we have planned for the back half of this year. It's really cool. But people like this, but they want to support. They're looking for a way to support. You know what I mean? And, we're revamping the Patreon, and that's going to be cool. And, we do the super chat thing, which, by the way, we'll do super chats today, baby. So get those things coming in. But my point is, not everybody's got loot. You know what I mean? Like, not everybody's got loot, but they want to support. This is the way they do it. You know what I mean? Just drop a like. Move the finger 2 inches for me. But anyways, I digress. Let's get back into the topic of hand. Guys, this really blew my mind. So I did a live stream earlier in the week. Some of you were probably there for it. Talking about J.J. Abrams possibly removing Reylo from Star Wars Episode 9. It was a good chat. It was a little shaky at times. You know what I mean? A lot of Reylos in there. A lot of contention in the chat. But still, I thought it was a good chat. So during that, people were asking me questions about this thing called the Flash Fights. And I was like, what's that? Flash Fights? I don't, that flew under my radar. So apparently, this is something that happened, you know what I mean? There was something that happened as far as the rumor mill for Star Wars. This is something that Jason Ward is reporting. And I think the reason that it flew under my radar is because in the initial reporting, when Jason's talking about it, he's like, there's a piece to this puzzle that I'm missing. And it's really interesting. Like, one of the things, like, I really like Jason. I respect Jason a lot, and what he does is really cool. But one of the things I personally really like about the way he writes and the way he reports at makingstarwars.net is, like, I like to see what he says about his sources, and he will extrapolate and speculate sort of reasons that they say certain things and don't say certain things. And he's always like, you can see like the wheels turning when he's writing. He's like, well, this is what I can say, and there's definitely some stuff that they're not telling me, and here's why I think that is, right? And so, like, I in the article, what he was saying with this initial thing was like there was a big piece of this missing, and there is a piece that Kylo does. Apparently, there's something that Kylo Ren does at the end of this, at the end of the Flash fights, that is very telling or very important that he can't talk about yet. And a lot of this has to do with like he's protecting the sources. So he's protecting the sources because, Disney can figure things out, right? Which again, hint at towards Disney and these other companies is something that we all talk about all the time. If you guys want to stop the leaks, figure out what's going on with the leaks. How does it happen, right? So if you really compartmentalize things, then you would be able to tell better when these leaks came out. You'd be able to fire companies and whatever, sue people. I tell you what, what'll stop a lot of leaks? If you find the leakers and you put like the hurting on them, $250,000 fines and stuff like that. You know what I mean? That would be crazy. That would be crazy. But anyways, let's get into the flash fight. So what Jason was talking about, and maybe I should just pull up his article about it, and we can talk about it. Flash fights. So the idea here is that Kylo Ren and Rey are going to battle, and there's essentially this thing that's sort of hard to visually. It's hard to visually explain, but essentially here's what Jason says. I'm literally reading right from the article on makingstarwars.net. I recommend you go check out this article and all the other coverage that Jason does. He says, Rey and Kylo clash as they battle. The backgrounds change into places throughout Star Wars' vast locations from the 9-part Skywalker saga. To protect sources, I cannot touch on what backgrounds pop up, and even if I did, there's no indication as to which are in the movie for sure. This could explain certain places, like the Lars homestead and Ahch-To, but it also might not. So it makes things even more confusing in some ways. I don't know if every strike and clash is a new environment or if they fight in the places for a time before moving on to the next one. We still have a lot of questions about how this will be conveyed on screen. Okay. So there's a lot of things that this could be. Girls with Sabers, don't worry, sir. We still love you. I assume you're referring to what Yova probably told you, but thank you. And I, of course, love you guys. Good relations I have with the Reylos. So, what could these flash fights be? What's going on here? Well, a lot of different things that pop into my mind. Now, on the thumbnail, obviously, is the World Between Worlds. Now, the World Between Worlds, if you don't know, and really you should, because it's Star Wars Sunday, baby. This is for the hardcore Star Wars people. But we'll throw a bone to the casuals. And thank you guys for the super chats. That's very kind. DEA Ray and 2nd Street Marvel dropping in those super chats. Every little bit helps. Thank you guys. So the World Between Worlds was an episode of Star Wars Rebels in which there is a temple, a Jedi temple on Lothal that is opened up and takes you to this literally what is in name and in meaning a world between worlds. It's like this weird cosmic place where all space and time is connected. And Ezra Bridger and then eventually Ahsoka Tano, they walk through this world between worlds, and they can hear the voices of Luke Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Anakin Skywalker, Rey, all these different people. And so it's this place where all these things are connected. Now, you can quite literally interact in between different spaces and times. And the way that it takes place in the show is that Ezra Bridger sees the fight between Ahsoka Tano and Vader. If you've never seen the 2nd season of Rebels and the ending where Ahsoka fights Vader, I mean, it's incredible. It is iconic Star Wars television. It's iconic Star Wars storytelling. It's great. One of the things that was weird about that was, so Vader doesn't lose. That's kind of a rule, right? I mean, like, Vader's the boss. Like, when he shows up, people die, you lose, okay? So Vader is fighting Ahsoka, and it really looks like Ahsoka's doing great. Ahsoka's an incredible duelist. And maybe there's a little bit of Anakin in there. Maybe. That doesn't want to hurt her. You know what I mean? Maybe. We don't know for sure. We just think about it. So she is thought to be dead. We don't see her die, but we see Vader leave at the end of that episode, and it's thought that Ahsoka is dead. So the way they save her is that while in the World Between Worlds, Ezra reaches in and pulls out Ahsoka from that space and time and pulls her into the World Between Worlds. Fascinating. Fascinating stuff. This opened up the door for all sorts of other crazy possibilities when it comes to Star Wars. It also ties into something I've been thinking quite a lot about, which is some things that are in the Tarkin novel with Palpatine. Oh, Al Schuler, speak of the devil and he shall appear. Actually, I didn't say your name, but I was about to. That's weird. I was about to talk about how you and I have been talking a lot about Palpatine, and we're working on some Palpatine videos. So, guys, stay tuned for some Palpatine videos. One of the things I've been thinking a lot about is this idea that they have been planning Palpatine from the start. Kathy said this at Star Wars Celebration, right? Kathy Kennedy. Palpatine has been planned from the start. And I'm not sure how much of that I believe, but as Al often points out when we have these conversations, there is some evidence to suggest that Disney did want Palpatine involved. And one of the pieces of evidence is how much he plays a role in the ancillary materials, the novels, the comics, the video games. I guess video games is a bad example, even though at the Battlefront 2 game, it's Project Resurrection, right? Like you're at the end of that game, that campaign, it's at least teased that people within the First Order wanted to resurrect Palpatine. By the way, I literally have like a 5-page script for a dope Palpatine theory that talks about this, extrapolates on those ideas. So, yeah, I don't know if I believe it or not, but one of the things that's always interested me is this concept in the Tarkin novel that's introduced where Palpatine is meditating within the dark side of the Force. Yo, Wayne White, what's up, brother? Welcome to the chat. So, in that novel, it's one of the first times we see kind of behind the curtain, so to speak, about what it's like for Palpatine as he's the Emperor of the Galaxy. And I'll just give you a heads up about a couple of different things. And Bad Money, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate it. He's not so concerned about ruling the galaxy. It's really weird. Like, he's definitely not that concerned. He's interested in what he considers to be a far more important goal. And he's feeling and sensing this thing out in the unknown regions that he thinks might be the source of his power. It's this incredibly powerful dark side thing. And he's also talking about reshaping reality. There's this line in there where he literally says that he wants to reshape reality. Palpatine wants to reshape reality. And I've always thought about, like, what does that mean? What does that mean? Well, interestingly, when you tie that into Star Wars Rebels, it's around a similar time in the canon that Palpatine is really trying to get into the world between worlds. And so his focus is on these more cosmic things. You know what I mean? He's name dropped the Mortis gods. He talks about going in to the world between worlds. He knows what it is, and he wants to use it. That feels like reshaping reality to me, right? And so, if Palpatine is playing a role here, and Kylo Ren and Rey are also playing a role here, it could be a thing that the cosmic force itself is trying to prevent what it would consider like a really great big perversion of natural life and order, like what should be done, right? And so the idea here is that the force ability that Rey has in The Force Awakens, where she can touch the saber and get the Force back vision. That's a concept that he introduced. Now, in that Force back vision, originally, you were supposed to see the battle in Empire Strikes Back. Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader fighting on Cloud City. Father and son fighting. This is, of course, when it's revealed that Luke's father is Vader. This is earth-shattering. It's crazy. They removed that. But the idea still remains that somehow Rey has this ability to touch objects or be around nexuses of the Force. And this is something that Disney has really been playing at. Lord Momin's helmet. Not only in the Lando comic where it possesses those creatures, but also that's literally where his essence is. It's how they bring him back. Momin and the helmet. That's how you bring Palpatine back. So there's this idea that objects themselves can be bound with things from the Force, vergences from the Force, different things like that. So do you see where my head's at? It all might start to be tying together, and what will be happening in Star Wars Episode 9 with these flash fights is that perhaps Kylo Ren has this ability too. I mean, we see him with the Vader's helmet. Why does he have the relic? Why does he have the helmet? He seems to be able to commune with Vader. Show me again. But is Vader showing him, or is he seeing visions of the past with Vader? Do you know what I mean? Like, maybe they both have that ability. And I've always said and told you guys that there is something cosmic that is going on with Kylo Ren and Rey. That's cosmic. That's the cosmic force. It's the light side and the dark side, and they need to come together. Balance needs to be achieved. I think that's what's going on. And I think Palpatine is a great threat to not only balance, but like the natural order of things, right? So it could be a thing where these two are elevating their power. They're getting stronger and stronger, pushing each other up in power, and they can maybe even sense that or whatever. So basically, they get really strong. In Episode 9, they seek out these relics. We think Kylo might be seeking out the relics. There's a lot of rumors of that. Rey is seeking out relics, we think. There's a MacGuffin in the film, could be a relic. And perhaps then when they face down, which could be through a Force vision as well, they could literally meet in like sort of cosmic space, like in the cosmic force. Like somehow they project themselves into the cosmic force, and then as they're fighting, they're ripped through different times and spaces throughout the Skywalker saga, gaining a knowledge, gaining something from these experiences, seeing something, having some truth unlocked for them. So perhaps when JJ says their force bond and their connection will be revealed to be greater than you could have ever imagined, this idea that a lot of people have been talking about in the fandom for a while, which is that they are these representations, these embodiments of light and dark, that the cosmic force itself is trying to regain power and sort of have actual balance and fight against like true evil, the evil that will destroy everything, and that would be Palpatine. Palpatine reshaping reality could be something akin to him escaping completely the boundaries and the rules of the Force. So the Force in some ways is a magic system. It's a fantasy, right? And as a writer, when you think about building up a magic system, you think about different things. Like, essentially, Palpatine could be considered a necromancer. So within, like, some fantasy worlds, you can have dark magic, like literally dark magic, light magic, all sorts of different schools of magic. But necromancy is usually forbidden. Necromancy is usually types of dark magic that you can't mess with. It's just against the thing. You can have your dark magic, you know what I mean? You can have your light magic, but necromancy, that's outside of the rules. And so, like, the dark side, leading Palpatine even further and further away from what would be considered natural in the Force, and he's sort of now in necromancy land. And if he's resurrected, I mean, that's full-on necromancy. That's like evil, evil, evil. So the darkness that we have seen so far in Star Wars, but also particularly in the sequel trilogy, that is natural. So when she's on the island and Luke is telling her about things, what do you see? Darkness, light, natural balance. It's said many times, darkness rises, the light to meet it. You know what I mean? Luke talks about that. Balance, powerful darkness, powerful light. That's balance. That type of darkness is acceptable, life and death. What Palpatine is doing is outside of that. What Palpatine is doing is, like, if he were to do what he wanted to do, it would be hell on earth. It would be like hell everywhere. Like, there would be no more even hope chance. It completely snuffed out. That's sort of where my head goes with the flash fights as it pertains to Kylo Ren and Rey, their connection. And by the way, you can tie the Skywalkers into that. You can tie the Skywalkers and their legacy sort of into that. Do you know what I mean? Like somehow the Skywalkers are an important part of that. The virgins, Anakin as a virgin was maybe natural darkness, maybe natural light. You know what I mean? Like it was within that scope. Or perhaps Palpatine and the fact that he created Anakin is like the start to this whole thing. There's like balance over here, and then bam, over here is like the necromancy. Anakin is necromancy. And then maybe that's why so much crazy bad stuff has happened to the Skywalkers, you know? But anyways, that's my weird sort of thought process when it comes to the Flash fights. That's what the Flash fights are, and there's apparently a lot more to it. So now I want to get into Q&A, guys. What are you guys thinking about this? And just in general, I mean, let's just get into some cool Star Wars questions, man. Star Wars is still fun to speculate about, despite what Girls with Sabers tries to tell you. Al Schuler coming in hot with the $2 super chat just because. Thank you so much, my friend. Appreciate that. Yo, Spider-Man Hulk, what's going on? Welcome to the chat. Would be amazing if Palpatine was Anakin's grandfather in a weird twist, and he is the Skywalker who rises. Dustin S. Gooding. That would be pretty interesting. I think they'll probably go more for that he sort of created Anakin. You know what I mean? And it's sort of that's more. It's almost like he's his father, sort of ipso facto. You know. Supposedly, didn't Palpatine somehow impregnate Anakin's mom through some weird Force ghost stuff? Jake Brower. Yeah. So, yeah. It was originally in the script for Revenge of the Sith that Palpatine would reveal, like completely reveal, that he was the one that did it, that he was sort of Anakin's father, that he created him. Now, in the comic books, apparently recently in the Star Wars comic books, which are canon, it is sort of hinted at, maybe possibly revealed, that yes, Sidious was the one that was messing with the midichlorians and created Anakin. I'm like 90% sure that that is true now in canon. Palpatine as the high evolutionary of the Star Wars universe. Yeah, I think that's kind of it, man. I think he was doing a lot of messing around. A lot. So I think Rey is potentially a Force birth or of the line of a Force birth. You know what I mean? Watching from Honduras. New subscriber here. Dig your content. Can I get a shout out? The watchful and harmonious subscriber. Hey, look, there's your shout out. And you have a cool name, too. Erica Stone says, explains so much. It might. It might. Darth Gringo? Yeah, I mean, whatever floats your boat, man. Whatever floats your boat. Mr. Dark Gringo. Now, another question with this too, guys, and I want to know if you're thinking about this the way I am. This is a really weird idea, and the cosmic force, and I mean, it's just, visually it could look awesome, and I think that as the end of the Skywalker saga, it's a brilliant idea to be able to visit all these different places. To just give us that nostalgia ride. I mean, one of the things that made Endgame so successful was going back to these events and places that we were familiar with. You know what I mean? Like it just feels right. It just feels right. But it's a really weird idea. How is this gonna? I mean, how are people gonna respond to this? You know what I mean? Who is the best character for me? I like Kylo Ren. I like Kylo Ren a lot. I think he's complex. I remember the moment he said that he was feeling the pull to the light side in The Force Awakens. I was instantly hooked. I was like, dude, this is so cool. We've never seen this before. A dark side user that's pulled to the light? That's dope. Heavy theory. And after how close you were to the Endgame prediction, I'm really thinking that you are correct. Yeah, so Wayne, this is coming from MakingStarWars.net, and so I mean, like Jason Ward and everybody over there, they're really good, and I'm just extrapolating things. It's like, so I'm not like a journalist, but I think one of the things that I do that I think I am good at is that I can take tidbits of info, funnel it through a storytelling perspective, and think about like how would you approach this if you were telling a story? You know what I mean? And then I'm just really good at, from that perspective, sort of reverse engineering how I think things will play out. So, what are the analytics telling you to talk about now? I tell you this: the analytics told me not to do this video. You can't always listen to the analytics. This might be silly, but do you think Lando had a brother and his brother had a son, and the son was Finn, making Finn Lando's nephew? I've been thinking about this for a year now. Maybe. I mean, Erica, I would not hate that. I wouldn't mind him being related to Lando. It really seems like this newer character is going to be related to Lando, his daughter. I forget the name of her character. Um, but yeah, apparently she's probably more in line to be related to Lando, which is cool. But I wouldn't hate it if Finn was related to Lando. That could work too. Any chance of seeing Anakin in 9? Totally. Totally. I think you're going to see Anakin in 9. It's just whether or not you're going to see him in what form. You know what I mean? Is the character back? Probably not. Will we see him maybe with a Force Ghost, with all the other Force Ghosts at the end, standing next to a Ben Solo Force Ghost? Because, yeah, sorry, I think he's gone. I think Kylo go bye-bye. There's all sorts of ways that we could see Anakin. But, yeah, I do think we will see him in the movie. Their theory, good question mark. Their theory about Rey being Han's daughter was a money grab. Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna get into all of that because, I mean, like, I just plainly I disagree with you. I think even in the way that Jason presented that content, it was presented as sort of like, hey, this is just a fun rumor. This is sort of being spread out there. And he has content that's behind a paywall, and that's just the strategy that he has over there. You know what I mean? Like, he's got podcasts behind a paywall, or I think there's certain podcasts behind a paywall, maybe like Patreon bonuses or something like that. It's just look, it's just a content strategy. You know what I mean? Like, I was just listening to this guy say this thing on a podcast, and it's true. People have to understand that content online, somebody's got to pay for it. Somebody has to pay for it. And right now, most of the content online is subsidized through ads. And what people like me are getting from people like you is your attention. And then I subsidize I literally get paid because your attention is then put in front of advertisers as well to subsidize the programming I do here. Right? Now, there's different pay strategies. Jason has the paywall for certain things over there. I mean, it is not free. You're not going to get content for free. So, look, he took a swing at that, and look, I bet it's working for him. I have no problem with it. Zero problemo with that. I'm curious about how Rey could possibly be related to Kylo. I don't understand how those theories work. Why would Han and Leia not remember they had another child, and Luke either? Yeah, it doesn't make much sense. Yeah. So here's the thing. There's no way she's a natural-born child of Leia. There's no way she's a natural-born child of anyone that Luke Skywalker had sex with, if he had sex with anyone. However, if she is a clone of Luke, then she's related to Ben. You know what I mean? Like, that's just the easiest, simplest way that they could do it. The easiest way, right? So there are even other ways that they could do it. You know what I mean? Han had an affair. Maybe. You know what I mean? Maybe. Uh, Uncle Owen had an affair. I mean, like, there's weird ways that they can get there. Well, okay, so Athenia, this is like a fiction thing. This is a fiction thing, but you can have clones of people that are not the same sex. You know what I mean? Like that's I don't know how that actually works in real life. I don't think you can do that in real life, but in fiction that happens all the time. And particularly in comic books it happens a lot. I believe there's a female clone of Peter Parker. Um there are female clones of people, you know, of guys. The Child of Han theory was whack. Yeah, the Child of Han theory is not really even a theory. You know what I mean? I don't. I'm pretty sure that got squashed in so many different ways. Not really a theory. Paige Roberts says, I would absolutely hate it if she was related, and not just because of the romantic reasons, but like why? They already have secret sibling thing. Yeah, but that's the point. I think a lot of people would like that they were related. I think a lot of people want them to be related. And again, you know, just take a step back and think about it. People have been looking for an explanation for Rey's power. And all of the explanations that we've gotten so far have been deeply unsatisfying to the majority of the fan base. All they got to do is make her related to like a Skywalker, a Kenobi, anything, and then it just automatically makes sense for people. I'm not saying it's not that interesting, but it's familiar and it feels like Star Wars. Why is Luke so powerful? Oh my God, he's the son of Darth Vader? Come on. That's dope. It's freaking dope. And yeah, that's Star Wars. Has Star Wars EU had clones of opposite sexes before? I haven't read all of that material. I haven't read it all either. I don't know. I would venture to say yes, but I can't like think of a specific example. So in The Force Awakens, Maz seems to recognize Rey. If she's a clone, whose clone is she? And how does Maz know? Maz recognizes something about the girl. She recognizes something. And she says that she's seen her eyes before. And what if, I mean, like, even thinking about that scene now, you live long enough, you see the same eyes in different people. I mean, clones would probably have very similar eyes. Rey is Yoda's love child. Enough said. Oh, that would be sick. I would love it if Yoda had some kids, man. You know what I mean? If Yoda had some kids. By the way, one of the things I really like about the Master and the Apprentice novel, this character Rael Averross, this Jedi Knight Rael Averross, is like one of the dopest Jedi ever. And he has a lot of sex. So he has a lot of sex, and the way he interprets the code is that love and attachment is what's forbidden. Physical, sex, especially when kept, casual and respectful, is not forbidden. You know what I mean? It's not like they can't enjoy things. It's just like attachment is what is forbidden. And I just think that opens up a lot of possibilities. You know what I mean? At one point, and this was way back in the day before like a lot of the new information that's out there now was not out there, but right after watching The Force Awakens way back in the day, I actually thought Kylo could be Rey's father. And then like you do the math and you're like, it doesn't work with the timeline. But I totally thought that could have been, you know? The walk of shame. Yeah. All the Jedi's. Maybe one of the books that Rey took is like the files of all of the Jedi and all the people they had sex with. Yeah, Kale Eddie says, I'm hoping Rey to be a test tube baby with no relations could give her a new retcon and still hold to the nobody from The Last Jedi for continuity's sake. Yeah. I like that idea too, Gail. I think that would be kind of cool. But I think it would be like a test tube baby that was created by Palpatine. A test tube baby created by Palps. And then if there's no relation, I'd be like, this is sick. Because she's a forced birth. She's like basically a new Anakin, which immediately explains all of her abilities and powers. It also explains sort of the attraction between, you know, Kylo and her and why they're drawn together. Yeah, I think that would be sweet. Yeah, Taylor Maurer. I do believe that. I would literally just said that, but yeah, I think that Palpatine could have created her. I think that would be very cool and a good way to tie it all together. What scenario would disappoint you the most in Star Wars Episode 9? Huh. What could disappoint me the most? I don't know. That's an interesting question. I think the thing that would here's the thing. I think that would what would disappoint me the most is if it's too far off the rails, and if it ends up feeling like uh there. So there's two things that are going on in my head right now. JJ famously he got a lot of criticism for the Force Awakens because it was basically a remake of A New Hope in a lot of ways, right? And a lot of people gave him crap for that. And so I know he's got a chip on his shoulder about that. And he's said recently that in The Force Awakens, I felt beholden to Star Wars in some strange way. And I'm thankful to Ryan for pushing it and going crazy places because now I feel super free to do, what I want to do. Um, I almost, if because of that, he's sitting in a room somewhere and saying, well, now I have to up the crazy because people thought The Force Awakens was too similar to A New Hope. Well, now we're going crazy. And if the movie feels like JJ's just going crazy for the sake of going crazy, I won't like that. I also won't like it if it feels like that with a bunch of nostalgia sprinkled in. If this movie ends up feeling like an apology letter to the fans, I'll be pissed. I want a story. I don't want a PR conceived product. I want a story. Say what you will of The Last Jedi. At least it had a story. It had beats. It had things that were going on. It accomplished things with the characters. Mostly just tore them to pieces. But at least there's a story going on there. If 9 feels like a hodgepodge, the biggest disappointment in episode 9 is if episode 9 is a disappointment. Do I think C3PO is going to have a gun in his hands? I do, actually. I do. And some of the stuff that Homeboy said at Star Wars Celebration totally hints at that. Uh, there was just this Anthony Daniels, right? That's the guy. So he was like on stage and he's like, for 8 movies, C3PO has been telling people the odds and warning them and trying to help them out with the best way, and nobody's listened. Well, I'm sick of it. I think he was implying that, like, as a character, he's sick of it, and that C3PO might arm up. Wouldn't that be? That would just be hilarious. Like, I think that would be cool. Mm, they say they had an endgame story in mind the whole time. I hope they don't change anything from the original story they had in mind, no matter the backlash. Yeah, Bethany B, totally get you. I mean, the question is, how much did they have planned? That's the question. Because I'm not one of those guys that thinks like, oh, they didn't have a plan. But I'm definitely not one of those people that's like, nope, this was all according to the plan. No, the answer's somewhere in the middle. Like Ryan took it and went a different way. JJ literally said that. Ryan took it and went a different way. How else? I mean, the plan has been altered. I'm changing the deal. Pray I don't alter it any further. Mm-hmm. Mm. Jake Brower. What are my thoughts on the Pelagus is a plague with host bodies, aka how Palpatine is still alive. Yeah, it may be interesting, but I think it's more like I think it's more Palpatine. Like Plagueis is a footnote. He's barely mentioned. Like as fans of the EU and fans of that Plagueis novel and just look, we love Plagueis. If you're a hardcore fan, you love Plagueis. I get it. I love Plagueis, but he's not in the fucking movies, dude. Like it's Palpatine. Palpatine's the one in the movies. So yeah, I think they could do something like that, but it's got to be Palps. He's the overarching villain. Why'd they bring him back? Because he's always been the villain. Just makes sense. Uh, Kaylin, you're wrong. You're wrong. He changed the story. He changed the story. Now, I think there were certain things that he did not change. But I think the only thing he was mandated to do was push Kylo Ren and Rey together as characters to bring them closer. I think he changed a lot. I think that's why Trevorrow didn't want to do 9. He changed a lot. Yeah, I think that's exactly right. They had beats, and then you fill in the rest with your story. And I also think that they could have changed the major beats. One of the things that I keep hearing from people like Pablo Hidalgo and certain people in the story group and things like that is that uh like Pablo went on this tirade one time because he was like, "Oh, everyone's mad because there's no plan with this trilogy." And the truth is, there was really no plan with the original trilogy, which is true. George came out, made Star Wars, which was just the movie. It was just Star Wars. It wasn't A New Hope. It wasn't Episode 4. It was just Star Wars. So he makes Star Wars, and then he then creates the sequels. But the second sequel is like a total divergence. It's written and directed. I mean, part of it's written by George, of course, but Kirshner had a huge to do with that, and the way he took the characters and the way he took the story. Kirshner. Um, Late in the game, they decide to make Vader Luke's father. Late in the game, even in production on Empire. Then the original plan was to have Luke have a sister that was this Jedi that was badass. He was going to have a romantic thing with Leia. The Splinter of the Mind's Eye is a really interesting thing where there's like a romance between Leia, and then it gets changed. And so it's Pablo was making the point in that tweet and in that thread that Star Wars is always done like this. It's always a patchwork. It's always just decided. It's mixed up. And that's true to a degree because the original trilogy was created like that. The prequels were really not. The prequels, things were more laid out, more structured because it had to be, right? And then Star Wars from there becomes more structured. And so I would argue that once you start establishing a canon, you need to plan because you now have a canon. And what Lucasfilm decided to do with letting these directors just literally do whatever they wanted with these movies. I mean, Ryan's talked about how he had complete and utter freedom to do whatever he wanted. How does that sound like they had a plan to you? You know, Marvel gets praised, but also criticized because it has a pretty tight grip on creatives. That's why Edgar Wright left. That's why the director from Thor 2 left. A lot of these directors cannot do the Marvel formula because there's tight grips on certain things that you can do because they have a fucking plan. You know? And you got to fit into the plan. Joss Whedon, problems on Age of Ultron 2. Never comes back to Marvel. Why? Because they had a plan. They forced him to do things. You know what I mean? The Star Wars formula, particularly in the sequel trilogy, did not put plan first. You know? That's just the facts. I think that was a mistake. You totally didn't get the notification for this? Dang. Yeah, YouTube's so weird these days. I just found out the other day that like one of the reasons that I've actually been pulling back on videos and not doing as many bonus videos is because if you put out a video, I think it's a 12 or 16-hour window. If you put out 2 videos too close together, the second one will not get notifications. So if you're putting out a ton of videos a day, the notifications are not coming. So that's like really weird because notifications help with what's called view velocity. So view velocity is like how well's the video doing in the first hour has a big determining factor on how it does for the rest of its lifespan as a video. So a lot of really successful channels that I've been noticing, they don't do a ton of videos all the time. They do like tent pole strategies, and they just do like 1 video a day, and then they take a couple days off and do 1 video a day. You know, like a lot of Monday through Friday once per days. But that sort of clashes with what I want to do with the channel because I need to make way more content. There's way too much content to talk about. I want to make a ton of content. But in order to do that, we need people to like enable their notifications, put the notification to always, be really bought into the channel, really bought in to what we're doing here so that that we can have view velocity on all our videos despite notifications not having. Could Rey be Kylo's clone? I mean, they don't look alike, though. That's the problem. Like, so clones, even female to male, would look very similar. Rey does look a lot like Luke. You know? So. She arguably she looks a little bit like Ian McDiarmid, too, but, you know, it's the hair, really. The dark hair. The blonde, dirty blonde hair. It doesn't work. But then again, where the hell does Kylo get that really? I guess that's Leia's hair. But Leia's hair is not that dark. Neither is Han's, really. Because it was back in the day. I don't know. I'm overthinking it. If there is a First Order Civil War, I want Star Destroyer or Star Destroyer space battles. Bombing. Yeah, this is something, too, that's been rumored, is that there will be different parts of the First Order, and there'll be sort of a civil war with Kylo and stormtroopers, and then maybe Hux and, like, a new division of stormtroopers. We've seen those red stormtroopers, you know, the Knights of Ren. How do they all tie into that? But Empire on Empire would be dope. Would be really dope. One of the most interesting parts of Star Wars canon, there was in Lost Stars, and then there's another book that talks about it as well. In the period after the Battle of Endor, there's a moment where different people, powerful people within the Empire, like, you know, the Imperial Navy and different Moffs or governors, they all, you know, separately decided, I am the new emperor now. And then there was divisions, and there was infighting. You know what I mean? Like, imagine, like, you know, Tarkin and some other big general, different forces coming in to fight. That would be really cool. That would be really cool. What about the Darksaber comes back in Episode 9? I don't think so. I mean, why? You know, it would be cool, but maybe in the background or something, you know, just as an Easter egg. But I don't see it playing a big part. I have a feeling that Rey and Kylo will end up teaming up. Thoughts? 100%. Yeah, they're going to team up to fight Palpatine, to fight the real evil. The balanced force, you know, the prime Jedi, that's Rey and Kylo together, will defeat, you know, the real threat, which is Palpatine, I believe. Yeah, black ring. You know, a lot of people, if the objects are really important, people have been talking about that ring of Palpatine a lot, or of Snoke, because it's got pieces from these statues that were in Palpatine's chambers, and the obsidian in it is from Vader's castle. Pretty cool. Guys, I'm going to get out of here in just a little bit. I'll take 2 more questions. Continue to drop your questions in. We'll go 2 more questions. Thanks for hanging out, man. Tuxedo Musk says, I'm really more excited for the Knights of the Old Republic movie trilogy. 100%. agree with you there. Way more excited for Old Republic. Old Republic's gonna be dope. Um, I'm really curious about it too. I'm just like, what are they doing? Are they? What is this late? What's this script with this lady? What was that leak about? Dan and Dave, are they not writing it? Like, what? What the hell? So there's a lot of mystery to it. What would Kylo's motivation be to kill Palpatine? Well, a couple of different things. I mean, if Kylo, let's just say, the evil motivation, because he wants to. You think Palpatine's going to come back and allow Ben Solo or Kylo Ren to continue to lead the First Order? Nah, bro, that ain't going down. Palpatine's going to be in charge. So, one of the things that is, I believe it's in some official canon source, but Kylo is said to want to set up a new order, which is, saying basically screw Luke Skywalker, screw the Jedi, screw the Sith, screw Snoke, screw all of that. This is the new way. And that new way is not going to be the way that Palpatine wants things to go, right? So that's number one. Number two, if Palpatine, there's a couple of different things. There's possibilities that Kylo and Rey have a child, and then that would motivate him because what do you think? Palpatine's going to just leave this kid alone? No way. There's a lot of different things that could motivate him to want to take Palpatine out. Mandalorian is going to be dope. Is Rey Sheev's daughter? She'd have to be his either clone, creation, or granddaughter. She's 19 years old, and Palpatine dies about 30 years before the events of The Force Awakens. So unless an 11-year-old dead Palpatine somehow had a child, that it doesn't work. Kylo is opposed to with Papa Vader, and Sidious killed him, so Kylo wants revenge. Yeah. Yeah, Palpatine would want his empire back for sure. Yeah, I don't know if he's Palpatine clone. I think he's a dark acolyte that Palpatine wants to possess, and that this guy willingly allows Palpatine to possess him. Brent Maxey coming in hot with the super chat. Make it thumbs up. We'll have to watch the replay. Just showing my support. Thank you so much, brother. Yeah, and if you guys could like the stream, would be dope. I would appreciate that. Have a good day, Wayne White. May the Force be with you, brother. May the Force be with you, my friend. Dale Edmond. Come on. Sheev's little swimmers were saved just for his contingency plan. Wouldn't that be hilarious if, like, the contingency plan is revealed to be, like, the artificial insemination? Oh, God, that'd be awful. That'd be rough. I do think that Palpatine always wanted himself to be resurrected, though. I'm starting to think that was in the contingency plan. Which is dope, dog. Are you kidding me? Sheev was like, because, all right, I'll give you guys a little bit of a tease of where my thought process is with this whole Palpatine theory. So, Sheev knows he can see the future, right? He's very good at seeing the future, how things are going to play out. He can read minds. He's just so fucking strong. It's crazy. And sorry that I'm swearing today, but I don't care. So, Sheev sees the future. He knows what's going down. But when it comes to the Battle of Endor, it is a Force Vergence. He cannot tell what's actually going to happen there. Something is interfering with his visions. He knows that it's possible that something really bad happens there. And so at the beginning of the third Aftermath book, there's this incredible scene between Gallius Rax and Palpatine, where Palpatine is talking to Gallius Rax about the contingency plan, saying that all these weird things, telling him, like, are you ready to be the most hated man in the galaxy? Like, you've got to carry the legacy, blah, 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 blah. So I think that part of the plan was that Palpatine knew that he could potentially die at the Battle of Endor. And he was like, if this happens, I need a backup plan to bring me back. And I need to be able to actually take over the galaxy, do what I want to do. And so I think a lot of the First Order's plans and their mandates are all based upon Big Daddy Palps wanting to be resurrected, which I think is dope. Hope that Rey stays like coming from nowhere because she achieves everything just like that. I don't understand what you mean. Yeah, exactly, Dale. Dale, we're on the same wavelength with this. Yep. Yep, he's messing with it, man. He's because the Sith. This is the. By the way, big difference between the Sith, the Jedi, and the Guardians of the Wills. So the Guardians of the Wills believed you do not manipulate the Force at all. You can have the Force manipulate you, and you can, that's where that I'm one with the Force. The Force is with me. They're not doing things with the Force. They're doing things through the Force. The Jedi were slightly different. They would manipulate the Force, use the Force, but like respect the Force. And the Sith had like no respect for the Force. They thought the Force was something to be bent to their will. You see the difference in philosophies among those groups? It's really interesting. Yeah, Ben Bamboo says they already brought Palpatine back in the comics. Wonder what effect that will have on the story, if any. I'm really interested too. Dark Empire was dope. I'm hoping there's at least some stuff from Dark Empire in it. Technically, there's a shot from Dark Empire in The Last Jedi. The shot of Luke with the green saber, he looks all like crazy as hell. I believe that's from Dark Empire. That's a shot. That's a panel from Dark Empire. So maybe. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. But anyways, guys, I'm gonna get out of here. Thank you guys so much for hanging out on Star Wars Sunday. It's been a blast talking about the wars in the stars. Let me know if you're watching this on the replay. What do you think about all of these things? The flash fights, everything we talked about. Chime in on some of the questions people asked. Drop all that stuff in the comment section below, guys. That's I do go back into these and check out the comment section. A day or two afterwards and just see what people are thinking. So yeah, it's a cool way to know what you guys are thinking about. That helps me craft the future content. All right. As I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video.